Today I'm at Stamford Brook in West London Wait a second. This is Stamford Hill in North East London. Oh no, not again. Hold on a second. Stamford Brook is a station on the District Line in West London. In terms of stations, it sits between Ravenscourt Park and Turnham Green. In terms of geography, it's only just in Chiswick, sitting just over the border from Hammersmith. The station is considerably younger than the line it sits on. I mean, it's not young, it was built in 1912. But the line was opened in 1869. It didn't start out as an underground line, it was built by the London and South Western Railway as part of a line from Richmond to Kensington Olympia, which in those days was known as Addison Road. In 1874, the Metropolitan District Railway arrived at Hammersmith. Richmond looked pretty attractive to them. The district liked serving the suburbs. It was cheaper than building railways through the city centre, which was what they were really meant to be doing, and it brought lucrative commuter traffic. So in 1875 they struck a deal with the London and South Western. They would build a connection, they could run to Richmond, and in exchange the LSWR could run to South Kensington. The LSWR never took them up on the offer to run to Kensington, but, it was a lovely thought. The connection was completed in 1877. That same year, the district received permission to build their own line from Turnham Green to Ealing Broadway, which opened in 1879. In 1883, they opened a line to Hounslow Town, and in 1884 a branch off that to Hounslow Barracks, known today as Hounslow West. In 1910, they built another branch to Uxbridge. All this will become more relevant later. In 1901, the district was taken over by this man, Charles Tyson Yerkes. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. The district was seen as staid. New electric tube lines were opening all under London, and the district was still operating steam locomotives hauling gaslit wooden carriages. Yerkes bought the company out and set to work electrifying the railway. He also offered to electrify lines with which the district shared tracks, including this section of the London and South Western Railway. As part of this, he would gain a share in the line. The LSWR declined. Yerkes could electrify the line by all means, but they would run their trains their way. Had Yerkes got his way, we might not have had a Stamford Brook station, because the result of all this was that electric district trains, which were frequent and fast, had to share track with LSWR steam trains. It wasn't ideal. District trains were constantly getting held up. So another agreement was reached, to increase the number of tracks from 2 to 4, with 2 being for the LSWR and 2 for the district. Now the great thing about electric trains, among other things, is that they can accelerate and brake much faster than a steam train, so stations can be built closer together. And so Stamford Brook became a practical proposal. The new station opened in 1912. While it was for district services, it was jointly owned with the LSWR. The original layout was an island platform for the district, no platforms for the LSWR. This is why the eastbound platform looks so much newer than the westbound one. It wasn't originally there. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, Stamford Brook being here was good news for the district, but not for the North and South West Junction Railway. What was the North and South West Junction Railway, I hear you ask? I'm getting to that, don't rush me. It was a railway connecting the LSWR with the London and North Western Railway, but it had a spur off to a station called Hammersmith and Chiswick, which opened in 1858. It was about here. Hammersmith and Chiswick was so called because it was between those two towns, which of course meant that it was very close to Stamford Brook. The spur was never particularly well used, but when Stamford Brook opened, the faster and more direct route into London killed it off. It closed to passengers in 1917. I might do a fuller video on the branch one of these days. By the 1920s, though, congestion was once again becoming a problem. With so many branches at the district's western end, a lot of trains were being forced onto the 2 tracks through Stamford Brook. Those lines were crowded, but the individual branches ended up with infrequent services. The solution was to hand some of those services over to the Piccadilly line. That would involve rejigging Stamford Brook. The middle 2 tracks would be handed over to the Piccadilly line, which would provide an express service and skip Stamford Brook. The outer tracks would carry the district's stopping services. Both the district and the Piccadilly were owned by the Underground Group, the organisation which had been ultimately founded by our friend Yerkes. The LSWR had become part of the Southern Railway in 1923, so it was with them that the Underground people had to negotiate. They would need full control of all 4 tracks if the plan was to work. Fortunately, the Southern were more than happy to come to a deal. Neither they nor the LSWR had used the line since the First World War, and the section from Hammersmith to Addison Road was abandoned. So in 1926, full control was handed over, although the Southern still owned the viaduct. With the help of a government loan, work began. In 1932, Stamford Station gained a new platform on the eastbound side, in the typical London Underground style of the time. Fare dodgers have reason to curse Stamford Brook because in 1964 it became the first station to gain automatic ticket barriers. These proved to be a success in reducing fare evasion, and their descendants can now be seen at almost every tube station and an awful lot of railway stations as well. Stamford Brook is not an especially prestigious station, but it's one I find quite charming. Well, I hope you enjoyed this cooperative tale from the tube. If you did, please do click the like button and consider subscribing for more. As always, I would like to thank my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon and here on YouTube for your always generous support. You are the Art Deco platform to my unprovided line. And I will see you all again very soon for another tale from the tube.